Hey guys, welcome back to Ricky's Corner. Party. You see, politics should be about vision and shit. Hey guys, welcome back to Ricky's Corner. Today's episode 6, will focus on the ever-raging question of socialism versus capitalism. So basically, the subject is redefining the definition of socialism and capitalism. Okay, or versus capitalism. You see, politics should be about vision and policy, and what side or candidate can generate the best argument for that particular vision and policies. This comes down to messaging and persuasion. Unfortunately, messaging turns to downright psychological brainwashing. That's what you see all the time. People primarily vote on either hope, optimism, or on fear, whichever vision, whichever message is strongest. Compare the vision and policies and the messaging of President Obama versus our current president, and you'll see a clear difference, right? What worked in one presidential cycle versus another cycle. Establishing and framing a narrative, not just about your political side or vision, but that of your opponent, is crucial. Defining yourself, your vision, your beliefs, your story, and getting that message out there is everything. It's everything. Because if you don't do it, then your opponent most certainly will. And it will most likely cause your demise in the court of public opinion. So you got to get your message out there. And you got to be effective at it as well. It's also a good idea to box your opponent at every chance you get. Make them play defense. Okay, limit their message, exploit their weaknesses, make them constantly, go back on their heels. Think of President Obama framing Mitt Romney back in the 2012 campaign as someone who was out of touch with America, this rich guy who was out of touch. And then compare it to President Trump boxing Hillary Clinton as corrupt, as crooked Hillary. So think of those two things, right? Think about how their messaging, how the framing of that message works for them. Now, for 2020, the framing has already started. Let me tell you, it's already started. Although we are about a year out from the presidential election, the campaign has already started. There are about 15 presidential candidates on the Democratic side trying to carve out their vision as the most electable, the one who could beat Trump. Many of them, however, are considered progressive, some too extreme, they say. A few will run as centrist or moderates, those that are able to, work in the middle lane, right? Work with the opposite side, compromise. The game plan for the Republicans and Trump is to pigeonhole the left or the Democratic candidates as socialists who want to implement policy that will eventually turn the country into Venezuela or Cuba. In fact, Trump and the Republicans have already started this fear campaign, citing Bernie Sanders and AOC or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as the leaders of this movement. In fact, there's a very interesting article that you can cite on Bloomberg that underscores my point. The article is titled "Trump Warns of Socialism in 2020 Race Amid a Rise of Sanders and AOC." This is not a new argument from the right or the Republicans, but with Trump as its new messenger, the propaganda will be intense and possibly more effective. This guy is cunning. His ability to message, spread fears and lies is downright scary. It's cult-like, actually. Almost like another cult-like figure in the 20th century. And if you really think about it, I think you know who I mean. Bottom line is, you can't fall for this fear. You can't fall for this fear. Just listen to the arguments themselves. Research the facts. Ask yourself, does this make sense? Is this common sense or crazy talk, conspiracy talk? Now let's look at each side's argument. So the Trump Republicans argue the left or the Democrats have moved to the extreme left, that they have become radical socialists led by socialist leaders like Bernie and AOC. Policies such as the New Green Deal, universal pre-K, Medicare for all, family paid leave, affordable child care, debt-free college, and reasonable gun reform will turn this country into Venezuela or Cuba. They ask, how are the Dems, how are they gonna pay for this? By taxation, by taxing us, by redistribution? How is the country gonna afford this? So that's the basic argument of the Republicans. Now, the left or the Democrats argue actually that most of the country already favors many, if not all, of these progressive ideals. And think about yourself. Think if you're in this equation. Who doesn't want to save their planet from pollution and toxicity? The Dems argue. Who doesn't want affordable health care and prescription drugs? Who is against affordable child care and accessible pre-K to all? Who doesn't want to be able to afford a 2- and 4-year-old college? Which American wouldn't mind having paid medical leave for the birth of a child or other family event or emergency? Can't most Americans benefit from an increase to the minimum wage, a living wage? Wouldn't we provide the majority of Americans with the sound and reasonable policy of universal background checks and closing of gun show loopholes to protect our most sacred resource, our children, from gun violence? So now let me ask you guys, okay, now that you got the left and the right arguments, and I want you to really think about this. Are you or do you know anyone who's about to receive or is receiving Social Security? So again, do you know anyone who's receiving Social Security or is about to? Do you know anyone who receives Medicare or is about to get Medicare? Do you know anybody, or how do you feel about public education or about public libraries? And what about other social welfare programs like Medicaid and SNAP? Are these things socialistic? Now, let me ask you this. What do you think about corporate welfare? Corporate welfare. Yeah, corporate welfare. They like to talk about the poor and welfare, but what about corporate welfare? Tax breaks for the rich and wealthy. The rich getting away with putting their money in the Cayman Islands, for example, escaping the realities that we common folks have to deal with. The white-collar criminals getting away with fraud, tax evasion, lying, perjury, and witness tampering. All the while serving fractions of sentences that common and minority folk don't have the luxury of. How do you think the farmers feel about the government subsidies to offset Trump's tariffs, costing taxpayers millions of dollars in the process? Isn't that a form of socialism? What about the huge companies like Amazon or Walmart, or tech companies like Facebook and Google, financial companies and banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Wall Street? What about big pharma or big pharmaceutical companies? What about all the tax breaks they get? Which one is considered socialism? Which one is capitalism? So let's look at the exact definition, right? Capitalism, socialism, socialism versus capitalism. What does it mean? All right, so if you forgot back in your school days, okay, or you just need a refresher, then I'm going to give it to you. Okay, so here's the definition. Again, you guys can look all this up on the internet. So here's the definition of socialism. An economic system in which the production and distribution of goods are controlled substantially by the government rather than by private enterprise, and in which cooperation rather than competition guides economic activity. So examples would be Cuba and Venezuela. We know how those countries are. And that's basically the argument from the Republicans. Now, definition of capitalism. An economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods by investments that are determined by private decision and by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in the free market. So examples of capitalism: our country, the United States of America, Canada, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Japan. Just to name some, okay? So again, to summarize, capitalism is an economic approach where there is less government and maximizing the free market, allowing competition and the private ownership of individuals and businesses. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to get in and get into your own business, right? You could do that. You would be able to have this idea, your own idea or product, sell it, make money off it, right? Control it, and profit off it. Fantastic. Okay, no one's debating that merit, I think. Okay, but it's just the extreme on that side. What happens if there is capitalism run amok? As Elizabeth Warren said in a recent town hall, it's theft. Capitalism without conditions or regulation is theft. It's corruption. Corporate slavery for the rest of us, basically. All right? Now, socialism in its true definition is the economic approach where the ownership of goods and production lies within the government and is then distributed to the community more or less on a parity basis, not based on competition, right? So think big government, they control everything and then they give out, right? They hand out to whoever, okay? So you really don't have a chance to get ahead. You don't have a chance to really be rich yourself. It's pretty much everybody's on an even platform, okay? And again, examples are Cuba and Venezuela. Now, you could debate the merits of each approach in terms of the ideal, but the realities of the two we can see in these countries. Now, the U.S. is known and has always been known as a capitalistic society, okay? Now, according to the Bloomberg article that I think I referenced earlier, okay, on Bloomberg, a Gallup poll in August of 2018 found that 57% of Democrats have a positive view of socialism, while 47% have a positive view of capitalism. Among Republicans, 71% view capitalism positively, while just 16% view socialism favorably. Now, this is a very troubling poll. These numbers are troubling to me. But it does show that the shift is generational, okay? Americans aged 18 to 29, you young puppies who are struggling with student debt, okay, those that are facing wage stagnation, okay, view socialism more favorably than capitalism by 6 percentage points. To them, the term evokes liberal democracies like Sweden and Denmark that guarantee healthcare and paid leave, okay? Now, yet Americans over 65, the most reliable voters, by the way, the most reliable voters, the older folks, yes, they have favorable views, okay, of capitalism, and that number overwhelms that of socialism. So to Americans over 65, they overwhelmingly favor capitalism over socialism, 60% to 28%. Now, this Gallup poll shocked me. Okay, so I think a lot of people need to go back and really look up these definitions and understand this. If you're for a country that mostly is socialistic, I mean, in all its forms, over capitalism, I mean, really, just look at history and tell me how that's worked out. Okay, you really got to understand this. Okay, now if you're talking about capitalism, okay, the ability to do your own thing, to own your own ideas and make money off it and own your own stuff, but with conditions so that there's more, there's more fairness, okay, some level playing field, that's different. And that's what I'm going to get up to. Okay, but let me ask you these questions, right? Is Social Security socialism? Is Medicare socialism? Are public schools and libraries socialism? I don't hear the Trump Republicans complaining about this as socialistic. Of course, Republicans like receiving Medicare and their Social Security paychecks as well. Their kids have used public libraries and some have attended public schools. And yet I don't hear any complaints about the Trump Republicans claiming that this is socialistic. How convenient, right? Now, in regards to SNAP and Medicaid, they do complain that this is too much money and resources to help out the poor, to help out the old, the disabled, and that this should be cut. Yet I don't hear them complaining about receiving tax breaks, saving thousands and millions of dollars in other corporate welfare programs and government subsidies. Isn't this being hypocritical, Republicans? When the Trump Republicans argue that the Democrats have become too extreme and are socialist that will make this country worse, ask yourself, how is this capitalistic economic approach that we're living in right now, how is that working out for you? How's that working out for you? What kind of job or career do you have? Do you own your own business? Do you earn the average wage for your position? When was the last time you got a raise? Was it a meaningful percentage? Not just cents? When was the last time you got promoted? Do you have to work more than one job or have a side gig to make ends meet? Can you afford your health care, your child care? Can you afford going to school if you wanted to go to school and say, you know what, it's not too late, I want to go back to school, but there's that thing about money. Now, do you have any basic savings? Or do you live paycheck to paycheck? Do you see your kids and grandkids getting ahead in their future? Will they be better off than you? What about our planet? Will it even be safe to live in? Ask yourself these questions. Now, the Dems argue with that said, is having the opportunity to have accessible, affordable, and better healthcare not worth it? To be able to afford going to college, even if it's just 2 years, where our kids and grandkids could start their pre-K education and not fall behind the other developed countries? What about being able to live on a basic living wage that can help us get by, where we don't need to rely on 2 jobs or public social assistance, where we have real jobs that can provide us with real wage growth and benefits? Is not saving our planet for our kids and grandkids, isn't that worth it? So is universal pre-K socialistic? I ask you. Is Medicare for all socialistic? I ask you. Is paid family leave socialistic? I ask you. Is debt-free college socialistic? Is public policy on climate change that starts to deliver on a framework proposal to save our planet and natural resources like the New Green Deal not worth it? Is that socialism? Well, maybe we need some more of it. Now, the reality is that we're more of a mixed economy than we are led to believe. The false narrative that these Republicans put out, you would swear we're just all capitalistic, really. But I've already raised several questions on that, haven't I? The reality is that us, like most countries, are mixed economies. Okay? We are a mixed economy. And so according to Wikipedia, the definition of a mixed economy is this. A mixed economy is variously defined as an economic system blending elements of market economies with elements of planned economies, free markets with state interventionism, or private enterprise with public enterprise. There is no single definition of a mixed economy, but rather 2 major definitions. So in other words, we're capitalistic, but we also have elements of socialism, like Social Security and like Medicare. Stuff that they don't want to talk about, these Republicans, okay? Now, so I want you to understand, don't fall for the false narrative of the Trump Republicans, okay? Don't fall for the false narrative, okay? They are experts in spreading fear and doubt. Experts. This guy, he's so cunning. Okay, he triggers the worst in people. You will get blitzed, okay, of all this false propaganda. Okay, the storyline will be in your Facebook and your Instagram, on TV, on radio, on all forms of medium about socialism. The Dems are socialists. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Okay? Do the research using reputable sources. And Facebook is not reputable. Open your eyes to see. Open your ears, okay, to listen. Open your heart and mind to do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. Okay? I would also warn Trump Republicans of this. Democrats said that the party's 2010 effort to pass the Affordable Care Act sparked similar cries of socialism and intrusive government, right? I remember that. 8 years later, however, the GOP's attempt to repeal its protections failed and contributed to their loss of the House of Representatives in the November elections. Now we got the House of Representatives mostly by Democrats, okay, because they ran on policies that people care about, that affects on people's real lives, right? Like affordable health care, pre-existing conditions, the climate, right? Our society, a living wage, things that really matter to people, reasonable gun control, pre-K and public education, all right? So I hope I was able to provide some clarity, guys, in regards to the upcoming messaging blitz. Remember, check out the 2020 presidential Democratic candidates. Check out where they stand on these issues, what's their vision, what's their story. Also start asking yourself, can I see this person beating our president? Can I see this person as president? Okay? Now, some recommended political shows. The Bill Maher Show on HBO airs Friday, 10 p.m. Recommended book, Becoming by Michelle Obama. I'm not done with that book yet, but it's a great read. I'm halfway through the book, maybe more than halfway. It's a fantastic read. And remember, be in a mindset of awareness, okay? You got to ask yourself what's going on. Get out of your bubble. Because while you're doing your thing comfortably or whatever, there's a lot of bigger things going on in the background that you don't know or you don't realize is going on. But the truth is, the reality is that it's going to affect your life. It's going to affect the lives of your children, your grandchildren, everything. Okay, so it really matters. All right? So thank you for tuning in to Ricky's Corner, guys. I really appreciate your support. Again, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And also check out my playlist, right? If you haven't already, Ricky's Modern Man Evolution. Did a segment with the family and quality family time. Got a lot of good reviews on that. And it was really fun to make because it was all about family. So anyways, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, later.